Welcome to the Jazz Piano School Podcast, episode number 359.
Welcome to the Jazz Piano School Podcast. Learn jazz piano without all the guesswork. Now, your host, Brendan Lowe.
Welcome to the Jazz Piano School Podcast, where we have one mission, that is to help you achieve jazz piano freedom so that you can express your true inner soul and emotions instead of having to copy what others have shown you. Now, we do this by providing structured and organized jazz piano education on specific jazz piano tools that you can then take and use over any tune so that you have complete jazz piano freedom. Welcome to the Jazz Piano School Podcast, episode number 359. I'm your host, as always, Brendan Lowe, and thank you so much for being here. I know it's been a little while. I apologize. I've been extremely busy, very, very, very busy. And but we are back. To everyone who kind of checked in on the podcast, I appreciate you reaching out to me. I appreciate your concern, seeing if everything's going okay. Yes, everything's going very well. Everything's just chugging along. I just got caught up with a lot of things, and mainly playing. It was a lot of playing, gigs, festivals, performances I had to do, practice for. I have the mastermind running with my students in the Jazz Piano School Mastermind program. So it was just mainly all of that, and along with kind of getting sick and having some in-laws over, and it was just life. Life was just lifing, and here we are. So I'm excited to be back. If this is your first time listening to Jazz Piano School Podcast, you can find all the podcasts by going to jazzpianoschool.com, and you can go to the podcast link to review all the podcasts. You can also get a whole bunch of free education there. I recommend signing up for the email list too to get new updates by going to jazzpianoschool.com/email list. jazzpianoschool.com/email list. You can sign up for the email list there. And you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel where I publish these podcasts, just the video versions on the YouTube. If you're listening on the audio version right now on iTunes or anything else, Spotify, you're going to hear a much more long-winded intro on these. But go to youtube.com/Jazz Piano School if you want to subscribe to the channel there. I recommend doing that for all the live streams, so on and so forth. So, what have I been doing? Before I get into this episode, we have been updating. We're almost finished updating all of the redesigned lessons inside of Jazz Piano School. Now, we had to do this manually, page by page. Do you know how many pages and lessons are in Jazz Piano School? Thousands. Over 1,000. And we're almost finally complete. And it's kind of like the first stage in our redevelopment of the website, our redesign. Because of these updated templates, we've been able to add in a bunch more features, and we'll continue to add a bunch more features in throughout the year. But this was really kind of the first step in really cleaning up a bunch of the designs. Things should look much prettier. They should function a lot better. Really, really important, and good stuff happening. So I'm happy to say that we're almost done with that. We're like 90% through. We just have a couple specialty courses left, and then we're done with that. And then we're going to move into some other really cool features. The features that we're going to be really adding and working on for the members area. If you're not a member, you can go to jazzpianoschool.com and check out the membership. But we are going to be working on adding favorites, like favoriting lessons in, so you can have like a storage of your favorite areas, different types of search, ways to search for courses and topics and things like that. We're going to be reorganizing that a lot. We're also going to be adding a practice journal, a practice log that you can use to log in all your practice hours, and just a whole bunch of other cool stuff. More live streams with me, different types of master classes, a lot of great stuff in the membership that's happening right now. So highly recommend, joining jazzpianoschool.com, for example, for the membership. Highly recommend doing that. But even if you're not a member, you can still take advantage of all the free material that's been going on. So this particular podcast episode is going to be on part 3 of my improvisation planning series for 2024. I know it's a little late. I apologize, but better late than never. This will wrap up this, and then I have some great solo piano podcasts coming to you after this that I've been seeing in my mastermind program. My mastermind program is a live teaching program, by the way, for any students looking to kind of get more live teaching out of Jazz Piano School, to interact with myself and my staff and the educators. The live programs are a great way. They are a significant more of an investment than the membership. The membership obviously gives you access to self-study courses and things like that you can move through on your own, all my education. But the live teaching program is more like a college curriculum class that you would take for a semester, right? Well, in this case, my mastermind is a full year program. It's a 9-month program, just like a college year, 3 months off for the summer. But that is essentially like a full-blown, college jazz piano course. You go through a curriculum with me, you study with me, you get lesson plans, you get classes, you get all access to all the archive of my other instructors teach the classes too as well. So you're getting education from all these different types of components. Really, really rewarding and successful program that I run with lots and lots of great feedback and most importantly, amazing results from the students. That will probably be opening back up this September, I should say, of 2025. And I'll keep you posted on that. But yeah, I think that's about it. So this improv planning session is going to be wrapping up my planning series. If you haven't gotten the guide, go to jazzpianoschool.com/2025-guide. Let me just double check that right now. jazzpianoschool.com/2025-guide. This is a free planning guide that I've created. And it will allow you to follow along with the series that I gave. I just checked the link and that link is correct. So we're good. A free series that I gave on planning out, more specifically, goals and goal-oriented focus on how to get better. Now, I'm also going to be coming a new masterclass training on each of these topics because what I've seen is that students, in order to start making progress, need to realize and understand what the educational issue is at hand. In order for you to make more progress and break out of the lane that you're in, you first have to understand the educational issue that you're having at hand. And a lot of the times, most of the time, it's not information. Let's be honest. We live in an information age now. Right? You can get access to everything. Information is not the problem. I'll say one more time. Information, learning, educational tools is not the problem, right? What is the problem? What's holding you back from making optimal progress, the most amount of progress? What's frustrating you? What's making you want to quit jazz piano week after week, month after month? What's making you say, oh, this is too hard? What's making you not want to practice? What's making you feel doubtful, like that second voice in your head creeping up? You can't do this. Stop now. It's not worth it, right? What's the issue that's doing that? Well, it's not information because you can go on YouTube. You can find what you need right now. It's not that, okay? The thing that is the most issue at hand right now is essentially the opposite of that. It's information overload and not having a clear, defined goal, number one. Along with that, not knowing the clear and concise components you need to reach that goal, right? I'm just going to drop that as a teaser, but essentially, this masterclass is going to be less about playing. It's going to be more about your mental mindset and understanding that you have to change the way you think about education and your goals in jazz piano and what you need and what you don't need. Again, most importantly, what you do not need to reach a goal in jazz piano. And this holds for life too. There's so many things in jazz piano you just don't need to learn. If your goal is X, right? I see so many if your goal is to build a stone cabin, right? I see so many students spending hours and hours collecting wood, chopping down trees, splitting wood, piling wood, getting all the wood ready, right? That's the same kind of thing that I see happening. It's like, why are you spending day after day chopping down trees? I hate to use that analogy because I don't like, I don't know. I like the forest, I like being outside, but it's a good analogy, right? So it's just like, why are you spending time collecting all these materials and resources you need to try to build this thing when it's not even the thing you need? That's the exact same thing I see. And it's because of information overload these days. It's because of the internet. The internet is literally doing this to us. Yes, I'm grateful for the internet. I'm grateful for all the resources out there, but we have, it's a proven, like it's just data. The amount of time that we can stay focused, right, is going down, okay? Our attention span is dropping, has dropped significantly, and we move on from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. Next thing, swipe, 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 swipe. New information, new YouTube video, next YouTube video, right? The algorithms in the information literally are attaching on to our most desired thing that we are searching for or looking for, and it just leads us down this random path, and it has no sequential process whatsoever, right? Now, this is also the reason that I truly believe investing in a paid-for service that gives you a plan, that gives you step-by-step action is truly the best way to get results, because you're not going to be able to do it on the internet you're by yourself. I promise you that. You will not. In this day and age, like, the algorithms are not meant to teach you. They're meant to have you keep watching the stuff that you most desire. And 99% of the times, the things that you want to learn, or the things that you think you need to learn, or that get you going, or you want to research, those are not the things that help you make progress. I promise you, those are the shiny pearls. You're chasing the shiny pearl after shiny pearl after shiny pearl, and your wheels are stuck in the mud, and this is why students do not make progress, okay? So my masterclass is going to be about teaching you how to fish. It's going to be about teaching you the goal strategy mindset that is going to give you the components you need to make progress towards specific goals and reframe how you're thinking about your jazz piano education, right? And it's going to pertain to the 3-goal system that I've been developing, and my philosophies around that have been released and are being released inside of Jazz Piano School. Number 1 being comping, or your goal of how to play in a band. Number 2, your goal of solo piano. And number 3, your goal of improvisation. These are the 3 most coveted goals in jazz piano. And so many times students get so mixed up about what they need to learn, what they need to accomplish certain goals. And I promise you, a lot of the time you need way less than you think you do to just get a specific sound that you're looking for on the piano. And then a lot of the times you're working on the wrong thing, or you just don't understand the difference in sounds between like a trio versus solo piano, right? Trio improvisation is a much different skill set. It's a much different path. It's like walking towards in the right, like to your right, versus solo piano improvisation is like walking towards your left. They're legitimately completely separate paths of educational skill sets, right? So if you think you can just generally blanketly learn voicings or improv or ballads or things like that, it's just not going to happen, right? You have to get super focused on what your goal, what you're trying to accomplish, and then ask yourself or find out from me, right? What are the tool sets and skill sets I need to accomplish that? And then that is what you work on. Now you're going down the right path. Now you're giving your chance of self to experience the fulfillment and fun of jazz piano. Whereas before, it's all over the place, okay? So I had to kind of drop that little teaser for these new master classes that are going to be coming out. And I hope you guys enjoy this improv session. Again, it's all in the planning for creating a plan for 2025. It's about creating a plan. And again, this does link up with what I'm talking about, but it's about creating a plan for yourself to experience more success in 2025. Okay? Don't forget to get on the email list. This is how you're going to hear about all the... is this still going? Yeah, okay, great. Well, that was weird. My computer just went to like the screensaver for a second. Don't forget to get on the email list. This is going to how you're going to hear about all the live streams, the free education, all the good stuff, all the news. I send out so much free education there. It's like crazy. I mean, like this is the 359th podcast I've done, you know, and you could just essentially learn so much just off all the free content that we put out there, right? The master classes, the live streams, the podcasts. It's incredible. Okay? jazzpianoschool.com/email list to get on the email list. With that being said, let's dive right in. Here we go. Now, what I'm going to do with you all today is, this is obviously going to be on improvisation, but more importantly, it's going to be on the steps in the education that you need to reach your improvisation goal very, very fast, right? And you can tweak, right? This is like navigating a boat. You're going to enter a course, you're going to put a destination in, and you're not going to sail in swooping lines like this, chasing one thing over here, chasing one thing over there. You're going to go directly to your goal. Now, the way that I'm going to help you do that is mainly by telling you what you do not need to practice, which is the funny thing. It's kind of ironic, right? It's like we can make more progress by getting rid of things rather than going forward and just, not going forward, but like swooping all around. If we get rid of stuff and then we focus on a couple things, then that's going to be the best. Hey guys, hey Alan, hey Noel, thanks so much for being here. Alan said it's freezing. Is it freezing for you guys? Everything looks to be going well on my side, so I don't have any dropped frames or anything like that. Ooh, I do have a lot of dropped frames. Ooh, I wonder why. That's odd. I'm going to close a couple things down here, see if that helps. It could just be my internet, though. Not. Here, I'm going to close this down, see if that helps at all. That's weird. That's weird. Too bad. Closed a couple things. Hopefully that gets better. Hopefully that helps the internet a little bit more. Let me disconnect my phone if that's on the internet too. Actually, that's probably using up bandwidth. All right, turn my phone off. Oh, freezing the weather. Okay. That is funny. I got you, Alan. Okay, great. That's really, really funny. George told me too. All right, MA, hello from Boston. Cool. We got another Bostonian here. That's great. Great to have him from Boston as well. So let's get into this, right? Let's get into this. I'm going to pull up the guidebook. And again, pull up your guidebooks. And again, if you don't have it here, you're going to want to go to jazzpianoschool.com/2025 guide. All right. So we have the three sections, the three areas. Again, you can go find these on the podcast. You can also go to the YouTube channel to find the replays of all of these. Okay. We're going to be specifically talking about goal number 3 today. So I'm actually going to, why don't I make this a little bit bigger so we can all see this? I'm going to expand this so that we, even if you don't have the guide, we can all be on the same page here, right? So there's really 10 steps here, and I would say for the most part, the first 3 steps are really what you want to tackle in order. You want to tackle in order. This is all in my new proficiency course. Improvisation area hasn't been released, but it'll be released soon. The solo piano is going to be released, and then the improvisation is going to be released as well. But this is all taken from my brand new course bundle, the Proficient Jazz Pianist, And actually, I'm going to be shutting down some areas of Jazz Piano School. Every member that's a current member will be grandfathered in. But what is happening is I really want people to just focus on these things. I'm going to simplify the inside of Jazz Piano School and have students focus because I know, I'm very confident, and that'll help students make way more progress than giving them access to all of the information which is now available in Jazz Piano School. It's still going to be great, still going to be fantastic, but just a little bit more focus. So I want to do a little demonstration before I get into the steps, okay? I'm going to talk about your goals. Your goals. So everyone here probably has some sort of improvisation goal, right? The first hierarchy of improvisation starts with this, all right? Listen very closely. This is very, very, very important. Honestly, this could literally make or break your progress on improvisation alone in 2025. Are you ready? Have a pen and paper ready. There's 2 categories that improv splits into. All right, there's 2 categories. Solo piano and group. Solo piano and group. Okay? They look extremely different. Now, the main difference here is not in your right hand. Your right hand stays the same. Your right hand stays the same, but your left hand is extremely different, okay? Your left hand is extremely different. And don't forget about your left hand because it's just as important as your right hand. Your left hand is just as important as your right hand, right? So many of us focus on our right hand lines, our licks, and we neglect our left hand. That's so sad for our left hand. our poor left hand, right? It gets neglected. So we want our left hand to be equally as strong as our right hand is able to move around. Now, if I am demonstrating, maybe let's say There'll Never Be Another You, and I'm playing solo piano, right? And I'm improvising. Check out what my left hand's going to do in my solo piano improvisation. Again, my right hand's going to stay the same, but my left hand's going to be doing a lot different things, okay? See if you can notice the difference here, all right? So again, this is my solo piano demonstration of improvisation over the tune, There'll Never Be Another You. I'll go through, maybe up to the first A section. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? A lot happening there. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate what it's going to sound like if I was playing in a band and I was playing There'll Never Be Another You. You won't be able to see the full chart. I'll try and expand it as much as possible here so that you can see it. But for the most part, you'll see, yeah, you could probably see all of it, actually. You'll see the majority of it here, right? Let me blow it up for you. But this is going to be the demonstration of There'll Never Be Another You. Let me move these over a little bit. If I was playing like in my trio, right? If I was playing in my trio, this is what it would sound like. Okay, here we go. Hopefully you guys can hear this. Let me just do a double check here. Can you guys let me know if you can hear that okay? It's a little fast. We'll slow this down a little bit. All right, and again, what you're paying attention to is my left hand, not my right hand. Just my left hand, all right? Not what my right hand's doing. Funny enough, right? Okay, here we go. Start from the beginning. So, much different than what my left hand is doing in solo piano. Okay, that's the first major thing that you want to be conscious of. So, with that being said, right, we essentially break down into two education categories. Like learning jazz is much more about just practicing. It's about being smart, right, about your practice. We have to be smart and focused about what we want to practice because the internet has destroyed essentially our educational path, meaning it gives us no path unless you invest in something that gives you a path, like jazz piano school, right? Otherwise, YouTube is not a path. It's not a curriculum. It's not a structured learning environment for any student to learn in, right? It's a smorgasbord. It's a swamp of information. So is the internet. So is Google. There's no structure to learning on the internet, right? Please realize this. So the best thing we can do is develop a path and get rid of the stuff we don't need to practice. So if your goal is to learn improvisation in the group style, the biggest thing here is going to be the difference in your left hand. Now, my right hand stays the same. All the education that you need for your right hand lines, right? Everything I'm doing in my right hand, all my bebop approaches, any sort of modern lines, that all stays the same. But my left hand voicings and what it does is completely different. All right? That should be easy enough to understand. I think everyone's with me there. Just go ahead and type in yes, cool, I get it. Why don't you tell me what you're most interested in learning as well? Improv in the group style or improv in the solo piano style? Some people don't play with groups. Some people don't play with groups, but they like to play with iReal Pro, right? Which is kind of fun too. Now, if you are interested in the solo piano style, your left hand is going to need to do a lot of different things, right? Bass note to chords, bass note to shells, bass note, shells, all together, different things like that, right? Hey, Scott, thanks for being here. Rob, awesome. So I'm going to say this now. In terms of difficulty, solo piano improvisation, right, is the hardest thing in jazz to learn, to do well, because your left hand has to do a lot and your right hand has to do a lot all at the same time while you're spontaneously creating and making up lines with your right hand. Your left hand's essentially doing the same thing on its own. In a group style setting, that's going to be a little bit easier to accomplish because your left hand's just playing voicings. When I played through There'll Never Be Another You, I'm just comping rootless voicings in my left hand. That's it, right? I was just comping rootless voicings. Whoops. So as I played through this, I'm just playing my E flat major 7, D minor 7 flat 5, G 7, C minor 7. So that's significantly easier to do, right? Now, I'm not saying don't do solo piano improv, but it's going to be harder. It's going to take much more work in your left hand to get it up to a certain level where it starts to sound good. Now, your right hand can sound good in solo piano, right? In improvisation and solo piano. It can sound good in a lot of different ways with simple left hand components. I could play There'll Never Be Another You, and I might just play bass notes, whole notes, bass notes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's all I'm doing is left-hand bass notes. Now, that's a very simple way to approach it, but again, it's not going to sound, I don't know, kind of overly orchestrated, okay? So that's going to be the first real thing you really want to nail down because it's really going to affect the left hand, and that's very important in your improvisation. Let's talk about improvisation in your right hand now, all right? So let's go back to the sheet for just 1 second. I want to open this up a little bit, and so you remember all the styles. Well, if you've been with me before, there's different styles of solo piano or essentially tunes in general, right? So your styles are going to be shown here, okay? You have ballads, you have slow swing, and you have medium and fast swing, right? These are going to be different tempos. Now, improvisation, this is good, okay? There's only 2 categories here for improvisation in your right hand. My ballad approach to improv is much different and very, very different than my improv approach over the rest of the tunes, let's just say. So slow swing, medium, and fast swing. So ballads improv is a much different approach than if you are improvising over any sort of tune that has a little bit of tempo. All right, so, and again, this is split down into those 2 groups as well because solo piano ballads is way different than group style ballads. All right, so let me give you a little demonstration on that. I don't have a ballad pulled up here, but let me see. Fine Romance. Ghost of a Chance. Okay, so if I'm in a group and I'm soloing in my group with a ballad, here is Ghost of a Chance. Beautiful, beautiful tune. Here's what I might do. I got to move this over a little bit so you guys can see higher. There we go. Here is what I would do for my ballad style, group style improv, okay? Let's put this nice and slow, 54 BPM. Here we go. Oh, I love this tempo. right? So, okay, you get it. That's my group style improv. Okay, for ballads. Now, again, if I already demonstrated group style for a medium swing, but that's gonna my improvisation in my right hand for the group in the medium swing is already drastically different. So that's another goal, another focus. You have to be very specific about what you're going towards, right? What you want, what do you desire your outcome to be? Because you can't just learn it all, right, all at once. I wish we could learn everything all at once. We just can't. We're human, right? If we had multiple brains and multiple hands and stuff like that, we could do that. We can't. So the more we can get focused and clear on exactly what our goal is and get to that goal and then switch our goal, right? We plot a course to the island. We get to the island. We get the gold. Great. We got the gold. Okay, let's plot a new course to our new island. Let's pick up another treasure chest, right? You have to get to the island first, get your gold, then plot your new course. If you keep swerving all around, you don't get to any islands, right? Now, my solo piano ballad, improv, that's not going to change in my right hand. If I were to play the same thing in a solo piano way, my right hand won't change. My left hand will change. My left hand. So here's Ghost of a Chance in a solo piano way. My right hand is doing the exact same thing that it did before with iReal Pro, but the only difference is my left hand is completely different. And I've made that point to you before. Again, group and solo piano, left hand is completely different, right? So those are two skill sets you need in solo piano. And again, in group, the skill set for your left hand is just simple rootless voicing, so that is easier. All right, are we all on the same page here? Okay, so the decision and the goal you need to iron out now and make for 2025, if improvisation is your goal, is exactly what you want. So I want you to write down group or solo piano in the guidebook, okay? And I also want you to write down either ballad style improv or everything else, essentially non-ballad style improv, which accounts for all other tempos, essentially past 84 BPM. I'll say that one more time. Write down ballad style improv or all other tempos past 84 BPM, slow swing, anything up to medium and fast. Because, again, the approaches are different. I don't want to go too far into it, but you could clearly hear in my ballad, I'm creating flowy lines that are kind of floating over the top of the stuff. It's not like bebop that I was playing over There'll Never Be Another You. Right? That's way different than my ballad style, okay? So write that down in your guidebook. Write down exactly solo piano or group, and then ballads or non-ballad improv. Okay, that's what you have to decide, because I promise you, everything that you'd give me, hey, Brendan, but I want to learn this style of improv. Okay, great. That'll fall within one of those categories. I promise you, right? I'm going from the top down right now. So anything you want to, no, but I was really looking for like blues or funk. Cool, that's the same thing. Like a funk tune, a non-groovy ballad funk tune, right? Anything above really 84 BPM, that's still the same thing. That's exactly the same. It doesn't matter what style. It doesn't matter what you're trying to learn, what tune. It doesn't matter what tune. It all comes down to the ballad or non-ballad, group or solo piano. That's it. That's it. Okay? Very, very important, right? And it's so funny because these are the most simple things that you would never really understand or know, but in jazz, if we just go on the internet, the student, you, right, we have no idea what we need to search for. So we just search for everything. We end up going nowhere. It's kind of crummy, right? And I've been there too. So anyway, let's go into these steps now, because I want you to know what you need to practice for where you're at in your improv journey. That's something I never knew, and I want you to know exactly what you need. Improvisation has so many different levels of improv, right? You can be good at improv, but then have holes. You can be not knowledgeable at improv, but really, sound really good. Like Preston just asked a great question, actually. How important really is piano voicings and modes? Right, exactly. Preston, I think you just showed up, but actually I just finished getting over piano voicings. Your voicings are extremely important for group style improv. So if I'm playing in a group, I need all left-hand voicings, my left-hand voicings to be really solid in a group. And I still need them to be solid in solo piano, but my left hand's going to be doing a lot different things. It'll be jumping to voicings. It's going to be a lot harder. So left-hand voicings for improv are really, really important. Your modes really aren't that important. There's so many more concepts that are way more important than learning your modes. I'd say you don't need those. Like 99% of majority of students, they just don't need to know the modes. It doesn't really matter that much. I'm going to show you how we get to this, though. There are 3 chord scales that you really need. I'm going to show you those in just a second. So here we go. So we are on tier 1, chord tones, right? What I'm going through, everyone, is building a solid foundation for creating solid improvisation to completely add on new advanced layers, right? Everything that I'm about to show you, you can test yourself just by opening up to a new tune in the real book. But we need chord tones. So I'm going to flip to a new tune here. I'm just going to go down and I will, right? Latin's a different style, Night in Tunisia, Oh, this is a great tune I just assigned to one of my mastermind students actually as well. So let's do this. He's doing it in the key of E flat though. So let's do E flat. So we need our chord tones to reflect the sound of the chord. If we're not playing the chord tones, we're not really playing the chord, right? We have to utilize our chord tones to play the chord. I'm going to give you a demonstration. I'm just going to play chord tones. That B flat sus. I might switch between sus or just a regular dominant, but here we go. Tone. All chord tones. Easy enough, you might think, right? To create some sort of solo and hit chord tones. Reality, most students, maybe most students on here, probably couldn't do what I just did. Now, I'm not saying that there's no shame in that, but I'm just saying this is a really, really important goal that everyone needs to be able to do. Now, here's the test, and this is going to be in the proficiency course that I'm going to release on improvisation in Jazz Piano School, which is available for sale still at a huge discount by going to jazzpianoschool.com/holiday. You can pick up any of those courses on discount now through the end of the week by ending Friday, though. If I were to switch this tune, right, I'm going to go to the next kind of classic, I don't know, we'll see, A Time for Love, that's ballad. Let's go to not Jackson 5. Let me see here. After You've Gone. Here's a beautiful tune, After You've Gone. If you can flip to any tune in the real book and make a nice solo out of chord tones at about 120 or higher BPM, you pass. That's your test. Okay? So I'm going to put this at 120. 120 is the passing grade. 150 BPM is really, really solid. 180 is mastery. And this is accounting for 3 or less mistakes. All right, here we go. Just like that. I mean, it doesn't sound like jazz yet. I get it. But again, if you can't do the simple things, you definitely won't be able to do the advanced things, right? That's why these first initial steps are probably the make or break for your improv in your jazz piano journey, right? I'll say that again. the initial basics, like these are fundamentals, are make or break for the fact or of you reaching your goal in improv, you know? And they're very, very serious. It's in serious stuff here. It's important, right? So if you can open up to anything, you know, Preston says, is it necessary for beginner intermediate play to delve around with Barry Harris, Herbie Hancock, and other versing's too, sir? No, exactly. No. You know, again, all that stuff I would say are very high level advanced spices, you know, and very minute 0.01% puzzle pieces. It's like getting a bunch of huge puzzle pieces dumped right in front of you and then teeny little puzzle pieces and saying, okay, how are we going to build this puzzle? Do we want to start with the super big puzzle pieces first? Or do I want to try to like waste years looking at these microscopic pieces and trying to fit those together when I have huge puzzle pieces that are like 2x2 pieces right here in front of me that I could start to put together and make 80% of my progress already with these big pieces. All of us want to get to the little tiny pieces really that don't get us anywhere, right? All right, so if you pass that, fantastic. Here's the next step, right? We go back to this. Chord tones was the first thing. Connecting chord tones with chord scales, right? This is really where our chord scales come into play, okay? So chord scales allow us to connect our chord tones. Chord scales allow us to connect our chord tones. So if I take my chord scale for my E flat major 7 chord, this is just a major scale. Right? That's my chord scale for a major 7 chord. Any major 7 chord, the chord scale, you don't even need to memorize the fancy word or the mode, right, called Ionian mode. That doesn't really matter. Just realize that any major scale you can use or should use in the beginning, just a major scale. Just connect your 4 chord tones here, right, or here, with the major scale. So we have to have a connection from a chord scale, or a mode as lots of people like to call it. It's the same thing, right? Because this connects our chord tones and adds fluidity. It adds smoothness to our playing. So now I can do this. I can move up and down and connect my chord tones. Before, all I could do was jump around. So now this gives me much more freedom and improvising power to create beautiful melodies because I have connecting notes in between my chord tones that allow me to move from chord tone to chord tone and make smooth music. Smooth music, right? If all I did was skips, it would be very hiccupy, you know, very disjointed. Okay, here we go. I'll do it again. Right? So clearly I'm emphasizing the scale. I'm emphasizing connections moving back and forth, right? And, you know, that is still not sounding like jazz. Why? Well, we're missing a big component, bebop approach notes. We don't have our bebop approach notes yet. And also, the only thing I'm doing here is the scales up and down. This is where students get really confused. Well, how do I start to use the scalar connection? Well, you have to combine it with skips. You don't want to get rid of your skips. You don't want to get rid of your skips pattern, right? You still want to use your skip pattern, but you also want to connect them with scalar motion. So you need a 50-50 balance, which means you might start with skips, meaning 1, 3, 5, 7. There's certain skips patterns I teach in the course, in the proficiency course. But for now, let's just say I take a 1, 3, 5, 7 skip pattern. After I've done a 4-note skip pattern, I want to go into scalar motion because, I mean, I totally can keep going, but this is just a general rule of thumb. So if I go, I'm going to now start to use scalar motion either up or down, right? And then maybe come down. Or if I come down, I might go up. right? And again, not sounding like jazz just yet, but it's going to sound a little bit better. Now, there's other skip patterns I can use. 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay, and again, I'm not going to go into all of them, but check out how my improv is going to sound. I'm going to use skips now and steps. Steps being my scalar motion using my scale. Okay, steps are just a whole step or a half step. Skips are at least a third. That's the definition of skips and steps. We need a balance in our improv between both of those. Otherwise, our improv's not going to sound good. Here we go. Right? So how many of you can start to hear how this is coming together? Right? So now, again, we're at step 2 here. We're at tier 2, connecting the chord tones with chord scales. Connecting chord tones with chord scales. This is step 2, okay, with a balance of skips and steps. Skips and steps, right? So this is together. It's starting to happen. And even if a student got to, like, when I got to this level in my playing, I was like, oh my God, something is happening. Like, I feel something happening. Like, I'm kind of getting it, right? Which is kind of funny. So let's keep going, right? Now, rhythm is number 3. And I kind of need to tweak this a little bit. I did tweak it for the proficient jazz pianist. Again, can be picked up by going to jazzpianoschool.com/holiday. But what rhythm has to be involved in everything. And I would argue that rhythm is more important than notes. Rhythm is more important than notes. So you really do want to put rhythm first in your chord tone test. You know, when you do start to utilize chord tones, your rhythm has to be solid. Otherwise, everything you're doing is not going to sound good. When I demonstrate, my rhythm is really, really good. But usually when students go and they're saying, I'm hitting all the right notes, Brendan, the reason that you're hitting all the right notes and it's still not sounding good, I'll tell you right now, 100% of the time, always rhythm. Always, always rhythm. Okay? So again, rhythm always has to be observed. It has to be worked on in the pocket, different types of rhythms. But there's less rhythm knowledge really that you need to know than note knowledge. I'll say that one more time. There's less rhythm knowledge that you need to know than there is note knowledge. Okay? So kind of once you get your rhythms down and they're working solid with your chord tones, everything else should be pretty easy. All right? So we're still missing a couple different things. We're missing our left hand, which is obviously really, really important. But at this moment in time, you can really split your education into 2 different directions, okay? So I want you all to write down in the chat whether your goal is bebop improvisation or modern improvisation. Bebop improvisation or modern improvisation, okay? And these are just general terms. I know there's a lot of different specifics about improvisation styles and the blues and things like that. I'm just literally creating a general 50-50 blanket of, do you like bebop or modern more, right? Alan says modern. Ron says bebop. Noel says bebop. Susanna says modern. Cool. I think we almost have a 50-50 slip. Audrey, bebop. George, modern. Rob, cool. Nice. Great. So literally at this point in time, your education for the students out there that want more of a modern sound is going to split. It's going to split. So the modern students, and again, this is in my improvisation mastery specialty course as well, by the way. So you're going to have to learn modern language. Now, modern language is going to be more or less different types of tools, right? For your modern language, you're going to have pentatonic scales. Right? So the modern sound has many more, literally lots and lots of different types of tools. It's a completely different education path, right? So pentatonics, hexatonics, left hand fourth voicings are going to create modern sounds. cluster voicings, sus reharms, altered sounds, like someone mentioned again, Preston mentioned like Herbie, different types of Herbie voicings. That'll be mainly with your left hand, but different types of scales, things like that, right? That's going to be the modern sound. That is a separate ball game. It's a separate arena. It's a separate everything than learning the bebop style, right? So if you want bebop now, again, after these first 2 steps here, right? Again, I put tier 2 here, but essentially what you have to do, I have to tweak this a little bit. But what you want to start to learn here, if your style is modern, don't do your bebop approaches. You don't need your bebop approaches. Your modern style will literally not use your bebop approaches. I mean, I say everything with a grain of salt, give or take. Yeah, okay. I can't stand when the students are like, well, Herbie did this one here. Yeah, of course. There's going to be exceptions to the rule, okay? But for the majority of education, you don't need your bebop approaches. Now, if you do want bebop, then at this point, you're going to want to take your chord scales and use your bebop approaches to get into chord tones, right? So your bebop approaches are essentially going to lead you into chord tones with surrounding tension notes that go outside the key. So again, this is our 3rd over the E flat major 7. A sample of a bebop approach might be chord scale above to double chromatic into my 3rd, into a skip, and then into a scalar motion. Right? And then chord scale above, chord scale below, or I could go half step below. Right? Another bebop approach into the 7th. So now my bebop sound is going to be mainly created by, again, bebop approach notes, skips, and steps. Bebop approach notes, skips, and steps. Okay? So, one point to make out is that I haven't practiced really any left hand. Okay? Now, your left hand immediately is going to make any step that you're at sound better, but your left hand has to kind of sound good. So I'm going to go through here. Let's say I'm at step 1. Chord tones, right? And I add my left hand in. Again, remember, you're going to need different things for different goals. If I'm going to be demonstrating a group style, okay, I'm going to only need my left hand rootless voicings if you're playing with iReal Pro or in a group. Okay, so all I need here is my left hand voicings. I'd practice these alone with the track. Here's what it might sound like. I'll just do whole notes. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just rootless voicings. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just doing whole notes. That's it through this whole tune. Okay, F minor. I mean, when you know your rootless voicings well, like this should be a piece of cake for you, right? And again, it will really kind of expose what you need to work on or not. If you're not able to go through a tune like this, you just don't know your rootless voicings well enough. You just have to practice them a little bit more, practice different combinations, practice all sorts of things, but mainly with your left hand is exactly what I'm talking about right now. Just your left hand. I don't need my right hand rootless voicings at this goal. For this goal, I do not need my right hand rootless voicings. Right? Because my right hand is improvising. All right? So now I'll do chord tones. Here we go. So on and so forth, okay? Now, immediately, the sound was leveled up, right? It sounded much, much better because I had my left hand in there, okay? But your right hand really has to be at a certain level in order to do that, okay? Now, let's go back. I just want to show you one thing. Yes, Alan said bebop approaches can be integrated into modern lines if used sparsely. Exactly. Like there's a lot of players who have a combination of mainly modern sound, but they're still using bebop approaches. Everyone uses bebop approaches. It's not like Herbie doesn't use bebop approaches, Chick, and things like that. But the majority of their playing, the majority of the theory that comes out of the sound is not from bebop approaches. It's not to say they don't use them, but the fastest way to create a modern sound is not with bebop approaches. I'll tell you that. And vice versa. The fastest way to create a bebop sound, it's not like bebop players don't use modern stuff, but the fastest way to create a bebop sound isn't from pentatonic scales or hexatonic scales, or fourth voicings. That's not going to give you the bebop sound, right? So, George, are you playing rootless chord tones? I'm playing rootless voicings in my left hand, but I'm playing chord tones in my right hand. I'm not using notes from the rootless voicing. So I'm playing a rootless voicing here, but like, for example, the E flat major 7, I'm not using the F natural in my right hand. I'm just using chord tones from the root position chord. So even though, and that's kind of tricky. That was actually kind of tricky for me too, because I'm looking at the note while I was playing and I was like, wait, I can't use that note. I have to just use these notes, which it is kind of tricky for sure. That's why I recommend you actually get your right hand really solid first or your left hand very solid first and then start to slowly combine them together. But anyway, let's go back to here, okay? And I want you to take a look at, we have 15 minutes left, essentially tier 2 on. Tier 2 on. So I went over bebop approach notes, right? But number 5, improv tools, okay? Left-hand voicings and comping, reharms. Tier 3, textures, dynamics, slides, octave, contrast, etc., storytelling, melodic and rhythmic motifs, development, and 10, combining it all. And I'd even say, again, this is a very condensed version of the things that are in the improvisation mastery course and my proficiency course. But I would say, like Preston was saying before, any sort of fancy stuff. I just heard my pipes do something really weird. I was like, it was right behind me in the wall. Any sort of fancy stuff that you're wanting to incorporate into your playing really goes in tier 3. Tier 3. Now, improv tools, number 5, that's your standard improv tools. That's just like standard stuff, like a pentatonic scale. Let me do a different one because that note's sticking. Right? Pentatonic's an improv tool. A blues scale is an improv tool. Different types of blues scales. Bebop approach, an altered scale. F altered scale, that's an improv tool. Your half whole, right? If you're doing half whole, step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Half step, whole step, half step. That's an improv tool. Your whole tone scale. These are all improv tools. Okay, it's like switching between the brush that you're using to paint. Okay, once you know how to paint, you are choosing different brushes. Do I need a thick brush? Do I need a thin brush for this? And you're choosing colors. Improv tools are like different types of colors, right? What color do you want? So you don't want to start with different brushes really not knowing how to paint. Or you don't want to start driving or you don't want to start picking different cars, different engines without knowing how to drive. That doesn't really make sense. Right? You want to learn how to drive first, and then you can start to tweak and use different tools or upgrade different things. Upgrade your car, right? Replace the engine, maybe get new tires, whatever. It's the same with your improv. Like, learn how to improvise first with simple things, the basics, chord tones, connecting chord tones, rhythm, right? Maybe your bebop approach notes, maybe some of your modern tools, and then start to upgrade your improv. And you can upgrade your improv by, again, going to step number 5, different improv tools. You start to incorporate different types of blues scales, different Barry Harris methods, or different altered scales, different, just different types of tools or spices into your improv. Okay, reharms will be a level up an upgrade to your improvisation, right? Left-hand voicings. If you're only using shells to comp your blues, right? In order to upgrade your blues sound, try to use some different types of voicings, right? Maybe you want to use like a sus voicing over the 4 chord. That's a reharm. That's an upgrade in your improv. But those things you don't need up front. They come later on when you're kind of like at a good solid level where you can upgrade more things in your improv, right? Thanks, Ray. I really appreciate that. He says, anyone serious about this, I would recommend Brendan's improvisation mastery course, which makes all this very, very simple. Awesome. I'm going to pin this message. I don't really know what that does, but okay, cool. It just keeps it up at the top. Woo, that's fun. Awesome. I appreciate that. Hey, Ray, and for everyone, honestly, my improv mastery course and my new proficiency course are some of the best. I truly believe it's the best material. It's the best structured courses I've ever made. So in my improvisation mastery and my new proficiency course, those 2 courses are like the best courses I've ever made. So if you're a member or you want to become a member, again, you can become a member. Go to jazzpianoschool.com/holiday to check out the new sale. You can pick up discounts on that stuff. If you're already a member, then just go check out those courses and use them. They're really, really, really good. So we are getting into some fancy stuff. So if I demonstrate some of these things now, right? Let me see. I'll demonstrate improv tools. So here's what my bebop will sound like. Utilizing some half whole scales now, some altered scales, maybe a little blues. These are all just tools, right? They're not necessarily things that allow me to improv. I'm just using these tools to upgrade my sound, okay? They're not the basics. They're not the fundamentals. Should we choose a different tune? Let's choose a different tune. I'm getting a little sick of that one. Let me see. Ain't She Sweet? Oh, that's a good tune. Ain't She Sweet? All of Me, classic, right? Let's try this, okay? Here's a great tune that can use a lot of different types of reharms and stuff like that. So I'll call them out as I use them, okay? Here we go. Blues. Sus. Sus. Bebop approach. Altered. Nothing. It's extensions. Altered. Relative to reharm. Relative to blues. And so on and so forth, right? So I'm switching between lots of different reharms, tools, sounds, spices. My left-hand voicings are strong with the tools that I'm utilizing, right? And all of this leads to different reflections of sound and expression over the tune that I'm playing, you know? Now, is there so much to learn? Yes, there is so much to learn. I get it. We all want to do all of that, right? But my goal here is to really help you guys. Oh, you couldn't see the chart. Too bad. That's all right. Is to help you guys nail down what you need. Okay, so I want to go back to this. So go to the last page here, okay, and write down, also put in the chat for us too, write down what your goal is, right? So if I'll expand this real quick now to the full page here. write down what your goal is for improv. So if improvisation is one of your goals, write that down. Okay, so this is on the execution page. Put your goal. Your goal is improvisation. Remember the 3 goals that are up front in the guidebook are: number 1, comping. Okay, number 2, goal 2, solo piano, and goal 3 is improv. So I'm talking about improvisation right now. Now it's okay. I would recommend you have 2 or fewer goals. Don't have 3 goals in a quarter. 1 quarter, you want to have it only up to 2 goals. Don't try to do all 3. It's way too much. Okay. And if you really want to make progress, again, you're going to make less progress with more goals, okay? But you're going to make more progress overall in different categories. You'll make more progress with 1 goal, okay, faster. So it's up to you. If you have, like some student emailed me recently about an audition, she needs her improv to get better. So her only goal is improvisation. So by focusing on improvisation alone, you're going to get really much that faster, the fastest, by just focusing on one thing. It's just common sense, right? If you focus on one thing, that one thing's going to get really good. If you focus on multiple things, all 3 of those things are going to get better slowly, but you're going to be getting, a bunch of things better. And I would argue, again, multitasking like that's overrated. Focusing on one thing at a time really helps you go deeper and master something a lot better. So write down your goal. Okay, in the execution area, write down the goal and steps. So improvisation, you'd write down. Again, just to reiterate and recap what I started with, you're going to write down improvisation for what? For what? Solo piano or group. Solo piano or group. Now, remember, this only applies to your left-hand education. Your left-hand education. If you're just going to be working on your right hand, because remember, your left hand really, you don't need your left hand that much. Only up until tier 2, you could start using your left hand. If you're brand new, then you don't even need your left hand, so it doesn't matter. But if you're at a spot where you do want to improve your left hand, make sure that you distinguish solo piano left hand or group left hand, right? Big difference. And then write down what step that you're on. Now, for everyone here, maybe just give an example. Like, just tell us the step that you're on or you might be working on. Like, if it's your bebop approaches, right? Write down bebop approaches. If it's maybe you're at step 5 in tier 2, you're working on improv tools because you got the rest of the stuff going well. You're working on your altered scale, your half whole scale, things like that. Your blues scale, If it's chord tones, you're starting at the beginning and you really want to get that down, great. If it's connecting the chord tones, chord scales. By the way, the only 3 chord scales you really need here are major chord scales to start off with, and your dominant chord scales and your minor chord scales. That's it. Okay? Minor harmony is a different ballgame, but really you need your major scale. So there's my C major scale. If I had a C dominant 7th chord, all I'm going to do is take my C major scale and flat the 7. There's my flat 7. Okay, that's the chord scale for all dominant chords. You take the major scale and you flat it. You take the major scale and you flat it. That's how you get your dominant chord scale. Finally, for minor chord scales, you're going to take your dominant chord scale, the one I just showed you, with the flat 7, and I'm going to take the 3rd and I'm going to flat that, right? Because that has to, let me get rid of this so you guys can actually see this. Your 3rd has to match the 3rd in the chord. So here's my minor chord scale. Those are the only 3 chord scales you need to know. Minor, dominant, major. Here's my minor, right? And again, here's my major. For my major, I'm going to make it dominant. And from my dominant, I'm going to make it minor. Okay? And again, just start with those tools. You don't need to learn your minor harmony just yet. If you can make do with your, if you can get the process down with your major harmony, then when you learn your minor harmony, you're just learning new notes. You already have the ability to improvise, but you're just learning new notes, new tools. Okay? Got a question here. How important is it to go through all keys? I would say that's very important. But I do leave it to the student, right? So let's Let me give you a demonstration. Let's say you've only practiced the keys of C, F, B flat, and A flat, and you know your C, F, B flat, E flat, and A flat. Let's say you know your chord scales for C, F, B flat, E flat, and A flat, and you can solo over those chords. You can solo over your C major, you can solo over your E7 here, right, in this chord. Right, you can solo over E7 here, so on and so forth. What happens here when students ask, do I need to go through all keys? There's a reason teachers tell you to go through all keys, and it's really to unlock the freedom for you. It's for you, right? So it's, if you don't know all your keys, if you open up to a tune, like all of you, okay, or even something else, I mean, anything, all the things you are, like all the things you are is a perfect example here. There's definitely chords in here that you're not going to know, right? So if you've only practiced C, F, B flat, E flat, and A flat, you definitely won't know your E major 7. You won't know your B dominant 7. You won't know your F sharp minor 7 flat 5 chords. You won't know your D flat. You won't know your D flat minor. You won't know the majority of this tune, actually. And so what happens is you won't be able to play the tune, right? So it's more work up front. And I get that, to work through all the keys, but what that does is it really allows you to play all tunes when you first open up to the tune. The reason students really can't play tunes is because they haven't worked enough at the basics around chords and just chord symbols and things like that outside of tunes, because when they get to the tune, they can't play an F sharp minor 7 flat 5 chord, right? Because they just haven't practiced it. And so that's where the rub is, Audrey. So essentially, like, it's up to you. We as teachers recommend all keys because we're trying to unlock more freedom for you to play tunes more spontaneously, with less hesitation, more fun. You know, it's much more fun. Otherwise, if you don't, you open up to tunes, you get halfway, maybe you get 8 bars in, you come to a change you don't really know, and then you can't do it, right? And so it really starts to put huge limiting factors on your ability to actually play tunes, right? So that can be quite difficult. Ray says, would you add the chromatic to your list? Chromatic bebop approaches, Ray, I would add to the list in your bebop approach area. So your double chromatics, more than a double chromatic is just a texture, right? But essentially a double chromatic is a bebop approach. So if I'm approaching a third, here's my double chromatic from chord scale below. If I'm approaching my 5, here's my double chromatic from below. Here's my double chromatic from above. Here's my double chromatic from above to my 7. Whoops. Here's a double chromatic from above. Here's a double chromatic from below. Right? Those are classic standard bebop approaches. Now, anything more than that, like if you're trying to do a 3-step chromatic, let's say, into the third, maybe starting on the D flat, that's more or less a texture. You know, it's not really a chromatic. It is a chromatic, excuse me. It's not really a bebop approach. But again, I can do 3 chromatics. I can do 4 chromatics. I can do 5. I can do 6. It becomes like, how much texture do you want after that? But I would say for sure for your bebop approaches, double chromatic, which I'm almost positive is in the improvisation mastery course, should definitely be learned. And then after that, you can use chromatics however you want to approach chord tones, as many chromatics as you want, right? Okay. Any other questions I can help answer? Hopefully you guys have written down your goals, right, for your improvisation goals for 2025. I would say, back to that other question about the keys, there's a balance between fun and momentum, right, that I really want you to, as a student, to understand, is that, you know, if your mind is breaking down and you're not practicing, then do something that's going to bring you joy, right? And momentum, and build momentum, because you can get so involved or so locked up in your routine and practicing and really not see much light That's where we get discouraged and we quit, or we don't practice, or we don't have fun, or we don't look forward to it, right? So balance it out with however you uplift yourself. Do whatever you need to do. Like maybe that means going on the internet, watching a random video on a random topic and trying to incorporate it into your playing. Okay, that means you're like veering off course, you're getting off the highway, right? You see let's say you're driving on the highway from like West to East Coast, right? My two homes, California and Boston. Okay, there's no way you're going to be able to make that drive all in one sitting, right? Or even just like multiple days. You got to stop and have some fun. You know, if you're on a road trip and you see a sign, I make this analogy a lot, way back in some old marketing videos, but if you see a sign that says world's biggest ball of yarn, right? You've been driving for 10 hours. Yeah, like get off your highway that is going to your destination and go see the world's biggest ball of yarn, right? I mean, take your time, have fun, take a break, enjoy it. But just because you do that, it doesn't mean you're not going to get back on the highway and keep going towards your goal, towards your destination, right? Where students start to get lost is that they get off the highway for the world's biggest ball of yarn, they go see it, and then they see another sign on this side route that says world's largest antique collection, and then they take another side road that goes to that, and then they see another sign off that road, and then by the time they know it, they can't even find their way back to the highway that was originally going to their goal, and they don't even remember where they were going in the first place, right? So that's what we don't want to happen. But absolutely, I mean, if you're getting bogged down with keys and things like that, take a break, but take one stop. Just get off the highway, just do that one exit, go see the attraction, look up a fun YouTube video on some miscellaneous information, and then get back on and start going down the highway again towards your goal. I promise you, if you can kind of discipline yourself to do it that way, you're going to make way more progress. All right. Anyone have any more questions that I can help answer? Let me know. I think that was a good session. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, you can go to youtube.com/Jazz Piano School to view all the live streams. All the live streams are there. We're working really hard to kind of like organize the channel, have some fun thumbnails so you can kind of, find what you're looking for a lot easier. Right now, the thumbnails are all exactly the same picture of Jazz Piano School, but you got to read the titles. Kind of silly, but YouTube these days, you have to have cool thumbnails. You can go to jazzpianoschool.com to find the podcast. All the videos of the live streams are on the podcast as well. Definitely go there to check out all that free education. If you are a member, definitely go check out the Improvisation Mastery course. It'll relate to all the education you're seeing here. Check out the Proficient Jazz Pianist new course, which right now Goal 1 is released inside there, comping. Goal 2, solo piano, will be coming in February, and Goal 3, improvisation, will be coming later in the year, probably March or May, or January, February, April, for improvisation. And if you want to pick up any of those courses, the holiday sale is still running till Friday. I got mastermind spots open still. So if you are interested in my mastermind, just shoot an email to support@jazzpianoschool.com. I check all of those. And if you have any questions about the courses, please let me know that as well. And you all are very welcome. It's always my pleasure. I'm going to continue doing live streams, so that's going to be fun. I might do some different types of live streams. I'm toying with different ideas and things like that right now, but I got my new upgrade, my new Mac Mini, so really sky's the limit. I can do a whole bunch of other things. I can have a lot of windows open, music, sound, so it's kind of cool. I'm excited about that. That's it, y'all. Hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. I'm going to go make some lunch, and that's it. Thanks for being here.